Managing client expectations is one of the least visible parts of the job. It is also the single most important. Most deals do not fall apart because of price, marketing, or timing. They fall apart because expectations drift too far away from reality. And once that gap opens up, it is very hard to close. The issue is that expectations are rarely set intentionally. They form quietly through assumptions, comparisons, and partial information. By the time a client voices frustration, that problem has usually been there for a while. Managing expectations is not about lowering standards. It's about aligning reality early before emotions start driving decisions. A lot of people misunderstand this. They think expectation management is about delivering bad news gently or pushing back when a client asks for too much. That is not it. Real expectation management happens before there's anything to react to. It starts with understanding how expectations get formed in the first place. Most clients don't build expectations from data, they build them from stories. They hear what a neighbor sold for. They read headlines, they see social media, they hear about other people's experiences. They remember one exceptional outcome and assume it's normal. Those stories become anchors. And once an anchor's set, everything else gets judged against it. If you don't address that anchor early, you end up negotiating against it later. And that is where frustration shows up. One of the biggest mistakes professionals make is trying to be reassuring instead of just being clear. They say things like, let's see how it goes, or we'll figure it out as we go, or I think it'll be fine. Those phrases might feel really supportive, but they create a lot of ambiguity, and ambiguity leaves room for unrealistic interpretation or inaccurate interpretation. Clarity can feel uncomfortable up front, but it prevents so much disappointment later. Clients don't need optimism. They need orientation. They need truth. They need to understand what normal looks like, what strong looks like, and what unrealistic looks like. That means speaking in ranges, not promises, and probabilities, not guarantees, unless you can actually guarantee it. When you give a single outcome, the client hears certainty, even if you never intended it that way. When reality does not match that expectation, your trust takes a hit, and it's hard to get that back, if not impossible. Another place expectations break down is around timing. Clients often underestimate how long good outcomes actually take, especially in complex or high-end situations. They associate speed with competence and delay with failure. But in many cases, patience is not a lack of action, it's the strategy. And this is where the communication matters. Silence creates stories, and the stories clients create on their own are almost never generous. Even when nothing visible is happening, context still needs to be provided. No update feels like neglect, even when there's a lot going on behind the scenes. Expectation management is not about talking more. It is talking about the right moments and the right things. Let me share a real example. We recently finished a house where a delay was going to push the closing. It was around the holidays, the client wanted to move in, they had family coming into town. We made the call to let him move in before everything was fully resolved. At the time, it felt like the right thing to do. It felt accommodating, it felt human. In hindsight, this was the worst decision. What we thought would reduce stress actually created more of it for the client and for us. The lines between complete and incomplete got blurred. Expectations shifted, small issues felt bigger, and the experience completely suffered because of it. The lesson was simple, but really important. Trying to be nice in the moment can create bigger problems later if the expectations are not clear. Good expectation management sometimes means holding the line, even when it feels uncomfortable. Another common breakdown happens around control. Clients often want certainty in areas that are inherently uncertain. Market response, buyer behavior, timing. Your job is not to pretend you can control these things. Your job is to explain what can be influenced and what cannot. When clients understand where your control ends, they stop holding you responsible for things outside of it. That changes your relationship dramatically. There's also a sequencing issue that comes up often. Some clients want outcomes before preparation, results before process, and that is where expectation management becomes leadership. You have got to be willing to slow things down and explain that skipping steps does not speed things up. It usually does the exact opposite. If you do not set that expectation early, you end up defending the process later. Naming trade-offs clearly is another key skill. Every decision has a cost. Faster timelines usually require concessions. Higher prices often mean longer patience. Flexibility in one area demands discipline in another. When clients understand those trade-offs, they stop chasing the perfect outcome and they start making deliberate ones. Consistency matters too. You cannot be conservative one week and overly optimistic the next. That inconsistency creates so much confusion. And confusion, it also erodes trust. Clients are always reading signals. Tone, language, what you emphasize, what you avoid. Those signals shape your expectations just as much as the numbers do. One of the hardest parts of managing expectations is staying grounded when emotions rise. Fear, frustration, impatience, they show up in almost every long process. And when they do, clients often push for reactive decisions. Your role is not to mirror the emotion, it's simply to absorb it and keep things steady. That doesn't mean be rigid, it means being grounded. There is a difference. Good expectation management feels boring in the moment because nothing dramatic is happening, but it creates smoother outcomes over time. Clients who feel informed and oriented rarely explode later. Even when outcomes are not perfect, they understand them. And understanding, that preserves trust. At the end of the day, managing client expectations is about respect. Respect for your client, respect for the process, and respect for reality. You're not there to sell certainty. You're there to guide decisions through uncertainty. And if you do that well, results tend to take care of themselves. If you enjoyed this video, please make sure to like, subscribe, and share it with a friend. If something in this video piqued your interest, or you simply want to learn more about anything I mentioned, please drop a comment down below and we'll get back to you. Until then, I'll see you next time.